Hi, I'm Go number 4 and welcome to this video. It's a time-lapse video where we're gonna build 5 different buildings, or should I say 5 versions of the same building in different styles. And as you can see, I've already started working on this fantasy-looking, medieval-looking townhouse sort of type deal with a stone foundation, using those little stone brick walls as for the corners, making it a bit rounded. Yeah, we're gonna use some diorite and some white concrete and some white concrete powder. That's what I want to say, to make like these sort of plaster type of white walls for the top floors. And we're using red concrete for the roof in the beginning, and I'm gonna texture that in a few seconds here. Right now we're working on this tower, and I think it turned out pretty good. I decided to add this tower here, then I realized, man, maybe it was like too much for this tiny house, but I think it turned out pretty nice anyway. This house is looking really grand with for taking up such a small space on the floor. All right, if we can pan down, we can now see the facade and see that the main structure of the building is finished. And now I'm just looking at working on some details, you know, trying stuff out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and eventually we're gonna end up with a really cool house. Right now I'm just texturing the roofs, and I'm using some red wool and some red terracotta to break up the red concrete and make it more weathered. And we're adding a little balcony here, which I think turned out pretty nice. Using lecterns as a fence was new to me just a few weeks ago. It's such a cool thing, you know? I really like that. And this house is almost finished. We just gotta add this entrance here. So I'm just made a little, stairway up to a little stair step up to the entrance to the door, and some roofing above it, using campfires and trapdoors, which is I love campfires now, since I've realized that you can use them as roof, and campfires are a great new block. Maybe it's not that new, but it's sort of new to me. Anyway, heading over to the next one. This is a sort of ice-themed build. I wanted to make this also medieval fantasy style, but more fantasy. And this was a tough one, so we did a stone foundation for this one as well, but we used some stone bricks in it instead of just using stone bricks for the corners. And then we used andesite, polished andesite for the corners instead of the rounded things. So right now I'm just working on the roof. I really had some trouble working on this because I didn't want it to become too similar to the last one. So I decided to go with a pointy roof on this one also, but I decided to make it more fantasy shaped. Just add some more shape to it, you know. And so this one, you know, no real roof would look like this, but in a fantasy world, maybe they will. So for this one, I just decided to add a little side extension to the top floor, not a tower. And I'm working on some bay windows there, and I do decide to add that eventually, but on the front instead. This one, I had a lot of trouble with this one, because, you know, I had the palette all laid out and I had an idea in my mind, but it just didn't turn out the way that you wanted it. But that's when you really just gotta keep going, and eventually you'll find something that works, and you'll be happy with it, or at least happy enough. So here I just added another like front porch, basically, making a fence using trapdoors and signs, which I really like. It sort of emulates a fence, but not taking up a whole block of space. It can like hang at the edge of a block instead, which I feel is a really nice addition. Now we're working on like a big fantasy chimney, basically. Sort of looked like a Santa hat to me, but I think it turned out pretty okay. And eventually now we're just terraining a bit, you know, adding some stuff around, some ice spikes, just to make it feel more in like a fantasy setting. And yeah, I think this is a pretty nice build. You know, it's probably my least favorite of all of them, but I think it's still pretty cool, pretty okay. I find it's hard to work with dark oak wood. It's just so dark. Oh, we went through a building there, and now I'm adding just these ice thingamajigs to the roof. Anyway, we're heading over to warmer lands because I'm doing a desert style house, and this one I really like. It's very small, but it's got the same sort of interior space as the other ones, but it just looks a lot smaller. For this one, we went with some granite, alternating with stairs and full blocks for the bottom, and that's just regular terracotta, no added dyes, just the like sort of faded orange type of regular terracotta, and some light blue concrete for an accent. And you know, all the blocks in this building sort of are in the same family of color. All of them fit together naturally, color-wise. So the jungle wood, the just terracotta, and the granite, all of it just fits together in the sort of block palette. So the same block palette, I should say. Now I'm gonna try to work on this front porch type deal for this one, which I had a lot of trouble with because I didn't want to obscure the stone foundation too much. So I tried some different designs, you know, I went with wood, I tried covering it up with trapdoors, I tried doing different trapdoors, I tried doing some stone in front, I even tried acacia, right? But that didn't turn out so well. Yeah, you see, this just covers up the whole thing, which I didn't like. So I just went with this simple wood stairway. Now we're doing some like hanging fabrics from like poles on top of the roof. I really like that. I don't know where I got that idea from. And we're doing a wheat sort of wheat field. It's not really a field, it's just some wheat on the roof. Just, you know, people planting wheat on a roof. That's pretty nice, huh? And lastly, we're adding a little llama pen, also using these hanging fabrics, alternating white and light blue, and doing some, you know, just a small little llama pen. And we're gonna get some llamas in there eventually. But first, of course, we have to use our sand to make this fit together in the environment that it's supposed to be in. And you know, I think this turned out really nice. I really like this one. Now I'm texturing the walls with some brick. Last minute decision. Man, this is really, really cool. I could really see myself building this in a sort of, in my survival world, probably doing a village with these guys would be really nice. Next up is we're going from the dry lands of the desert into the swampy swamp, and we're doing a swamp house sort of on stilts. And I really like alternating the oak logs with stripped spruce logs. It gives it sort of this weathered effect. I like using that in custom trees as well. It's really nice. And now we're working on some bridges or like boat landings for extensions to the main structure, sort of. So I went with a green wall on this one just because it felt pretty swampy, you know. That's just the way I felt. And the mushroom blocks for the roof, the brown mushroom blocks, I feel like that they have a really nice color, man. It's a good addition to any block palette. but they're rarely used, you know? For the side buildings, or like the extension buildings, I used bone blocks and white mushroom stems as the walls. I feel like that's a really cool sort of block mix that people don't really use a lot either. So that turned out pretty good. Now we're working on a sort of middle tower here. This one arguably has the most interior space of all of them, just because I added this sort of like, I felt like the build needed something more, so I added this tower, but like sort of on top of the main structure, which I think turned out pretty good. Some brown mushroom up there. The roof on this one is sort of weird. It's sort of like a half circle, and I don't know, I improvised it. It turned out okay. All right. It's pretty nice. We are heading into detailing territory now. We're just working on some wood support for the main building, and now we're adding a small sort of boat landing for where the main entrance to the building is. And I think that turned out pretty good. Just in the same place as every single one of the other builds. And oh, right. Look at these composters here. I really like using composters for like a log or like a pole with a rope tied around it. I think that looks great, and I think it's the best option for doing that in Minecraft currently. That's looking real good. Anyway, we're just finishing up here with some terrain touches, and soon we're gonna head over to the next building just as soon as we built this tiny canoe. Because who doesn't want a tiny canoe right next to your swampy swamp house? Next up we have, I tried to do a modern style building. I'm not really well versed in architecture, or modern architecture, or any type of architecture for that matter, but I think this is looking pretty good. I just, everybody does this in Minecraft, but I thought I would try my hand at it as well. It's, just make some shapes with white concrete and see what comes out of it. Try to make it work. I really like the alternating pattern on the window there with the light gray glass panes, the gray and the black. I think that turned out pretty cool, and you'll see me using that throughout this whole house. This one arguably has the least interior space of all of them, and that's just what's gonna happen. But yeah, I think it turns out pretty okay. You'll see me... Oh, actually, you see the hole up there in the top white shape. That's becoming a skylight eventually. And there's gonna be a hole in the roof of the main building as well with another skylight. I don't know if that's a fire hazard with like the glass acting like the double glass acting like lens type of thing. Maybe it is. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. But hopefully this we won't log back in and this house will burn down from magnifying sunlight on the wood floor or something. But yeah, now we're just finishing the shape up, and yeah, as you can see, look at this glass pattern here. That's really cool to me, and I'm pretty happy that I managed to make five builds that, in my opinion, all look pretty good, and all sort of resemble the same. They're all made up of the same building blocks, so to speak. They're all got the same foundation. Now I'm just adding some vegetation, some leaves, some bushes, some grass, some flowers to the build. That's really what makes a Minecraft build come alive to me. The vegetation, or like the way you present it, because that's really what differentiates it from like just being a big old building plopped down on the ground, to actually being more of like a live world that you're trying to do. So here we got them, all of the 5 buildings, and man, this was really fun to do. a fun challenge to put up. Yeah, my favorite one is gotta be that desert one though. It just turned out perfect. The other ones, they're nice and they're pretty nice. Oh, this first one though. That's looking really grand. Anyway, that's it for today, and hopefully I'll see you soon. If you wouldn't mind dropping a like and a subscribe, that would be awesome. I'm pumping out some content these next few weeks. I'm gonna be trying to pump up more regularly, and I think we're gonna have some great fun in this beautiful game called Minecraft that just that everybody loves so much. So have a good one. I'm out.